Aries, it's now Ramadan and I don't do divinations during Ramadan, so that any that appear on this site I recorded before, including this. But here is your April tarot reading, and I hope you find it useful. Aries, I can see two sort of themes in this, which seem to be themes for many signs, not only during this month of April, but during this year 2023. And one is that the past, and that's bottom right hand corner, was almost a golden time, a time when you were in control, a time when you knew what you were doing. Because we have the King of Swords, a very knowledgeable king. And it's as though your knowledge of the world and the knowledge of what you're doing and your sense of direction is slipping because the ground no longer feels firm in this world. I mean, it might be entirely personal to you, but it might not. And the other card that leaps out is that middle card, which is the Queen of Wands. And that's appearing in that central position, meaning that it dominates the entire reading. Now, it could simply be that you need to work with people, you need to work with others to achieve what you want. But it could be a warning not to use and abuse others, because whatever changes are going on in the world, they're changes by which you need to cooperate rather than be in competition. Your current energy is that of learning something, the Eight of Pentacles. It's like an apprenticeship card, but it's learning something that might be useful in the future. Your future energy is the Nine of Wands, looking back on things, looking back on your triumphs, looking back on your victories, and saying, what can I learn from them? Because there's no doubt that a cycle is coming to an end. Is this entirely personal or is this world events? It could be both, it could be both. And whilst reminiscing is a good thing to do, I think this change in the cycle is so profound that maybe the past teaches us absolutely nothing about the future. And on the subject of change, the energy leading to the outcome is a card of massive change. It's the World card. That means that everything is going to change for you. As I say, it could be entirely personal, but I've got the feeling that this is something that's going to happen to all of us over the course of the year. And it should bring with it luck, Don't despair just because things seem to be changing and you don't like change. I have a lot of confidence that whilst it won't be easy, it won't be pleasant for us all, we'll have to give up on things that we held dear. Ultimately, we're entering a new and better age. The card that would change that is you going inside yourself and pondering. Is that you not going with the flow, I wonder? And the outcome you see is the Four of Swords, and that's you needing to take a rest. And again, that's a reoccurring theme, both during this month and this year, that people are just tired out from the pace of change, tired out from all the implications for their life and what they need to do. An interesting spread, but I'm not sure we've got to the bottom of things yet. Now, the overall energy is the Queen of Wands. She's a lovely queen. She's a likeable queen. She's got that wand in one hand and she's got that sunflower in another, suggesting that she's blessed with many things. And I think she brings these blessings to other people as well. And she's got that black cat between her feet. I associate it with luck. You might associate it with magic. I don't know, but I mean, there is something a little bit magical about her in the way that she can command other people. But people follow her, because they respect her. but she is that little bit prone to using people. She flits around a little, and that's the energy of her. Now, I don't quite know what it's telling us, but it's in this very central position, meaning that it flows throughout the whole thing. And we have been getting this card in this position this year for a number of signs. And I think it's telling us that we need to learn to work with others, to cooperate, and not to compete. I think that's what we should read into it, but we'll see. Now, another recurring theme for the year and for this month is the past as a golden age. And you see, in your past, we have the King of Swords. A time when you felt in control, a time when you felt you understood things. Now, I don't know if you're like me, but I feel that my very values, everything I've stood for in my life, has been exposed as a complete sham. At its simplest, what I'm talking about is there is no professionalism in any of what we used to call professions. But, there is no professionalism anymore. Everything has been completely corrupted for greed and money. So, there used to be a time when, for example, the principal of the local college, they used to be called technical colleges, they had some authority, they had some power. They were part of a local authority structure, so you might say, well, they had no power really, but they had some authority locally. But what we've done is they're now independent, and they've got bigger and bigger, and theoretically they have power, but actually they just have to follow guidelines. And this is indicative of what's happened. Everything has been centralised in society, and in that centralisation, everything's been abused, and everything's been abused. There is no professionalism anymore. Everything is being done just for greed. Everything is corrupt, thoroughly corrupt. And your current energy is the Eight of Pentacles, which I call the apprenticeship card. Funny, I was talking about technical colleges then. Because, of course, we used to be sent one day a week from our jobs to attend a technical college. That's how it used to work. And, you're learning something that you think will be useful in the future. And in troubled times, we have to adjust. So it's no bad thing to be doing. I'm not certain what you're learning, but, whatever it is, if you're like me, you're learning to garden, you're learning to grow food, you're learning to grow medicine. It doesn't really matter what it is. If you think that skill's going to be useful in the future, then it's a good thing to do, isn't it? You're finding it a bit laborious. Me, every time I go out in the garden, I get eaten by mosquitoes, or ants or spiders, or and it's often too hot to be out there, but I persevere, and I think that's what you're doing as well. Now, there is major change in this reading. Whether this is personal to you or whether this is world events, we may never know, but I'm seeing the same themes cropping up for everybody. And, even though everybody might take them personally, they may still be global events that are causing it. And when we undergo these massive changes, and this is a card of the future, this is the Nine of Wands, we reminisce over the past and we look back at what worked and what didn't work, our failings and our successes, you know. And we're looking back at them knowing that change is coming. Knowing that change is coming. But what we must avoid is actually thinking that we can learn from the past. Because the change is going to be so massive that what served you in the past won't serve you in the future. If you can look to principles like, well, I adapted then I worked with others, then I cooperated with others, then I think you can learn. But if you just see it, well, I use this tactic, this tactic, this tactic, you can't learn from the past at a time of major change. I've said there's major change, and believe me, there is. Because the card that leads to the outcome is the World card. And that is your whole world changing. It's a cycle coming to an end and a new one beginning. So just like the last card where I said, what can you learn from the past? This is really saying, well, we hope you learned something. But that doesn't mean extrapolating the past to the future. Because if you've really learned these lessons, learned how to apply attitudes to change, attitudes towards people, then it's about what you've learned with your heart and not your head that matters. And if you have learned these things, then you're ready to move on. And it should bring with it luck. Now, is this entirely personal to you, or is it global? Well, I think there's a big clue in its name, the world, you know. I really do think these are global events. They may be affecting you in a very personal way, but I think they are global events. And it's time to move on, Aries. Time to move on. You know it, even though you're a little bit resistant to it. Now we have the Four of Cups, and I think this is telling us there are two alternative outcomes here. And I'm not certain which is the best outcome, certainly not at this time. So the Four of Cups is you quietly contemplating, going inside yourself and looking for answers, which seems like a very good thing to be doing at this time. But maybe we'll never find the answers. You know, you remember that sort of Nine of Wands where I said, I don't think the answers are in the past. And so maybe you're wasting your time doing this. I'm not sure. Normally I'd say it's a good thing to do. Look at him, he's sitting under the tree, he's thinking about things. He's looking at those three cups, but he's missing that one other cup, which could be the real solution. It looks divine because there's that cloud behind that hand. Is that saying this is the wrong thing to do? Is it saying just go with the flow? I'm not sure. Because the actual outcome is the Four of Swords. So we've got a Four of Cups and a Four of Swords. It does feel like they're really juxtapositioned, doesn't it? Two fours like that. Four of Swords is about taking a rest. Needing to take a rest. In another sign's reading, I thought it might be about them having some sort of an illness. I don't feel that's what it is. I think this is just saying, stop trying to control things. Stop trying to control things. Put your faith in God or in the universe or in nature, and everything will work out. You focus on being happy and you'll attract happiness. That's what I think it is. Just take a rest. Don't keep trying to control everything, because you can't. Let's check if I've got this right though, eh? And I'm going to seek, well, I mean, I could seek clarity on either of these fours, but the one I'm going to seek clarity on is the Four of Cups. And the first card we have is the Page of Wands. And this is you feeling like you need to act. Then we have the Queen of Wands. Remember, the whole reading's about the Queen of Wands. And the final one is the Chariot, a sense of direction. I think I've got it. Yeah, let's explain each individually. Now remember, we're clarifying the Four of Cups, and the Four of Cups is quiet contemplation, going inside yourself. Why are we doing it? Well, we've got almost the exact opposite here, the Page of Wands. A feeling that you need to do something, a feeling that you need to search for something. And searching for it inside yourself is no bad thing. You know, just go with me that this is about world events and not entirely personal for now. But if you've got this overriding feeling that there's something going on in the world that you don't really understand, then maybe quiet contemplation and thought is the best thing to do. And the impetus for that is coming because you feel you need to do something, but you don't know what you should be doing. And now we have this Queen of Wands again. Remember, she's a queen who flits. Remember, this was running through the whole thing. So this contemplation is about your relationship with others. And as I say, the big change that I believe is happening in the world, and the more I look at it, the more I feel these are about global issues affecting you, Aries. And that is that we need to embrace cooperation rather than competition. It's competition that has got us into this situation whereby power has become centralised, professions have been undermined, human knowledge itself has been undermined, and we need to cooperate to rebuild our civilization, not to put too fine a point on it. Now, if you do go into this quiet contemplation, you will come out with a sense of balance, a sense of direction, a sense of knowing what you need to do, which I think is what you're lacking throughout this entire reading. I think you'll come out realising that it is about cooperation and consensus now, and no longer about competition. It's about working with others, seeing the best in people. Did you need to go into your head to find that out? I'm not certain. I think if you'd just taken a rest, you might have got there anyway. If you just put your trust in God, nature, the universe, and relaxed. You know, if you just relax and approach everything with love, you don't have to have these strategies, do you? But I don't think there's anything firm on which is the right way to do it here. It's one of those cases that is just telling you this is life and this is how it is. I can see things happening in April that are happening to many signs, not just in April but during the year, these recurring themes, and I can't help but think that it's about global events. Now, it might feel entirely personal to you, and there's nothing in these cards to say it's global, but then by the same token there's nothing to say it's entirely personal. But the fact that so many signs are getting these recurring messages suggests to me that it's what's happening in the world. To a certain degree, like us all, you look back to the past as a golden time when you knew what you were doing, you knew why and the reasons, happens, and you're aware it's all changing. You're aware it's all changing, but you don't quite know how. Instinctively, and you're 100% right, you feel that it's no longer about competition, but collaboration, working with others. You're even beginning to learn new skills that you think might be useful for the future. Now, I don't know what these new skills are. They might be like me, gardening, learning how to grow your own food and medicine, or could be anything, quite frankly. But the world's changing. It's about to change. And my God, is it going to change? It's going to change completely. And hopefully, and there will be some luck in it, and hopefully you've learned from the past. You do reminisce over the past, but what you should have learned is you should have learned it in your heart, not your head. So if you keep repeating things, you will repeat the same mistakes. But if you repeat the principles, hopefully things will work out better. But don't extrapolate the future from the past. Because you're confused, you're probably going inside yourself and looking for answers. And that's no bad thing, no bad thing at all. You feel you need to do something, but you really don't know what to do. But this theme of cooperation and collaboration over conflict and competition seems to be quite strong. And if you do go inside yourself with that, looking for answers, you probably will come out with a sense of direction, but I can't be certain it's the right direction. I think it is. But I think you might just find this by just relaxing and saying, God, universe, nature, I'm in your hands. Whatever is best, let's go for it, and take in a rest.